This is going to be a question for Tony, given the fact you've just gone through a startup and all the joys of dealing with IT. But are we fast becoming an industry? Sorry, Steve. With every reliance on IT coders and developers?
I think we're dealing with a lot of data, and you've got to be able to manage that data effectively. You've got to be able to mine it, see what's there, see what behaviour is going on. So I think it is a very important element within that you are efficient, and clearly, an efficient IT digital department will support that. I think there is already a reliance on your digital capability, but it's just part of the picture. I don't think it's in isolation. It's part of the evolution that's been happening in collections for some time. Yeah. I think it's definitely got a place, and it's just making sure that it fits properly within your strategy, and that you don't become over-reliant. I think it's been said a number of times before, there's a number of ways you can do things. The data and how you manage your data is just an enabler.
I'll probably go to Sam on this one.
We probably are fast becoming an industry of it. I think if you look back 10, 20 years, we had very little. Will we become totally reliant on it forever? Maybe not. I think we've got to get to a point where you have that good balance. So if you've got all the options, you've got all the tools, and you're using your data in your right way, but we also want to be careful that we don't force people down a sausage machine that actually doesn't fit their journey. It's all about giving the consumers the choices that makes it easier for them to do what they need to do. I was talking to a colleague earlier, and I was saying we've got customers who probably don't want to speak to us, don't want to pay us. If you make it easy for them, they will engage with you. If you make it difficult for them, guess what? They're not going to engage with you. And if you get that engagement, ultimately you hopefully get the payment. So I think we needed some of the reliance, some of the IT code, some of the how do you engage, what's the best way, what strategy suits X person. But I think there's always going to be that human element that says sausage machine will never totally work when you're talking about people and people's bills and what people need the finance for.
Angela?
Yeah, I would agree with what Sam said. I think there's a definite place for it and for those digitalised strategies. But I think, especially in the debt that we deal with, and it can be really complicated with our customers having different services, in different industries. I think we do still need those highly skilled collectors, so we need that interaction with them to be able to resolve that debt as we go forward.
I think, again, going back to when I first started at CRS, a lot of the collectors were almost order takers. So they were sat there just taking payments over the phone. That's probably 50-60% of the time we're just taking payments. I think now we're seeing it with the highly skilled, the negotiators, and they're almost like a welfare team as much as anything. So it has completely changed where they are, but it's demanding of a better, a higher skill set really than it used to be. Sheraz?
Yeah, look, I take a different view completely, actually, to the rest of the panel. I think, so the FCA do this thing called occasional papers. There's 51 of them, and around about 25 of them are around behavioural economics. How do humans make decisions and how do you influence them? The key takeaway to that is humans aren't rational. Yeah, humans, so the whole edifice on which we've built everything is, the human is a rational actor, and you do a very methodical income and expenditure, and if everybody's rational, everyone would budget every month, yeah? I was 30 till I did my first budget. So actually, where I think we're getting to is this very much what the IT guy was saying around, we're... Steve? Was it Steve? Steve. I thought it was Steve, I wasn't sure, so I thought... But look, it is all about testing and learning. A/B, how can we nudge and influence customers to get them to, want to make a decision, yeah? Some customers want to interact at X time, some customers want to interact at Y time. How can we learn from that? And actually, that isn't a sausage machine. That isn't around one size fits all. That's actually providing a level of customization that an army of humans cannot do. And for me, it's going to become much more and more and more around digital distribution with a sort of a sprinkling or seasoning of these kind of trained ninja experts who kind of just slot in when required. But I think we'll see humans become less and less involved in collections.
Interesting.
Is that by choice or because COVID and the way we've all moved from a cost-based perspective has forced them? So I read an article on, we all say our customers are choosing the digital journey. And I'll call out, I am actually a big believer in the digital journey. But did our customers choose that, or did we force it? Because COVID happened and everyone shut down their phone lines and said, self-serve, guys. Self-serve is the way to go. So they had to self-serve. If you go into, the local high streets, all the banks are shutting down and you're going to have to use your banking app and blah, blah, blah. But there is a huge tranche still of people who, if you gave them the choice, they would prefer a bank. They'd prefer a face-to-face. So I think the data that you get from the digital and the options that you get, absolutely, 100% behind that. But I think saying all customers prefer it, I think is more, we've chosen it because it's cost effective for our businesses, and we've forced people to adopt it.
Well, but let me frame that for you differently. Let's say that your can't pays and won't pays that we use as terms, yeah? These are sort of, I hate to say it, 1970s terms,
They are.
but they are, yeah? And actually the world is now much more about consumers operating with biases, heuristics, we all know about confirmation bias, we all know about optimism bias, we all know about the shortcuts that humans take. So how do we influence people's behaviour, right? So actually, maybe can't pays and won't pays aren't really a thing, right? Maybe it's somebody who's got a bias that's going one direction. And then, look, we've all heard about the Downing Street nudge unit, yeah? So actually, it's about creating a customer journey, potentially, that is nudging the customer away from their current kind of bias or heuristic to something else. Now, you don't solve or challenge someone's heuristic by having a debate with them like you do having a collections call. It's that drip feeding, nudging. And so I think actually, you're talking about, and I talk about a sort of a digital distribution channel, but I think it's about using that digital distribution channel that we have created to start to begin to proactively influence consumer behaviour in a way that maybe we haven't yet fully thought through, because actually we've now got the tech to do it, and we've now got some insights into the behavioural kind of economics behind it as well. And I think that's really exciting.